sort of flow rate funnel.
Madam Chair, we are live.
Thank you, Mrs. DeGraw. I want to welcome all of you here today to our amended budget hearing. That's what we'll start with. Our school board is present. We have Mr. Burton Shaw on the phone joining us. And just a reminder, as we start our budget hearing, it's a little bit different format than our regular meetings. It's pretty open discussion. If anyone in the audience has questions or comments, I'd love to hear them. And the board does not vote on anything in this, but we will start with the amended budget hearing, move right into the proposed budget hearing for 26-27, and then a fee hearing for 26-27.
So, Madam Chair, I would like to start off with just a little bit of an overview of what will happen during these budget hearings and the fee hearings as we go forward. These are slides that I have shared in the past, and so it's going to be no surprise for those that have joined in the past. So today we will talk about the amended budget and the proposed budget. The amended budget is for our current year that we're working through, and the proposed budget is for next school year. Our financial years start July 1st, so it goes July 1st to June 30th. That's where we're at. And that is confusing at times because taxes go from January to January, and other things like that. So, and then federal programs go from different times. And so at the business office, I do want to just say thank you first to Mrs. DeGraw before we start this whole process. This, when we go to the IASBO training in March, the IASBO is the Idaho Associations of Business Managers. When we go there, there's only a handful of superintendents that ever show up. And they're grateful when the superintendents show up because it allows us to be able to see what the business managers are trying to accomplish and do. And the one gentleman who has presented, he says during the month going up and the week before the budget hearing, he said, do everything you can to make the life of your business manager as easy as possible because the stress is there. And Mrs. DeGraw has put in countless hours. And so just for the board's information, she's already hit 40 hours, and that was last night before we hit, and it's Wednesday. So thank you, Mrs. DeGraw. If Mrs. DeGraw does cry or get emotional during this time, that's what happens when she's tired. It's not because of anything else. So thank you, Carrie. Appreciate you. And you don't have to say anything right now because you're not on camera. So this is going to be an important part of the discussion is when we say, well, what is a budget? It's an estimation of the revenue and expenses over a period of time. And it's not actual money. This is the biggest thing. And I still get hung up on this at certain times because a lot of times I'm thinking, this is my bank account. And, you know, right now I'm holding up the 50 or 60 pages of all each little line items. And we keep thinking, this is my bank account and this is how it is. Actually, this is just a plan. And this plan is going to come through. We want to plan safely and conservatively. So you're going to hear that a lot when we talk about this plan is for this much. Now, other things that come into this with school finance and budgeting, our revenue sources for schools constantly change, but they are also very restrictive. We don't have the ability.
Rock out.
We got an alarm going off. That's okay. That's usually when Chris wakes up. Oh, when Chris is. Oh, I'm on.
I had it silenced. I don't know why.
Mine don't. But the revenue sources for schools are very restrictive. We don't have a lot of ability to go out as other businesses. If this is a business that I'm running my own farm or business or thing like that, they can be really innovative in ways to go out. We're pretty restricted in what we get. And so we've had different PAW meetings over the last couple of months where I've went in a deep dive of where the funding comes from. And our ADA, or average daily attendance, is really what drives the main part of our funding. But that funding that comes in through that is mostly 85 to 90, well, probably 85% is salaries and benefits. So that's money that is restricted already to that purpose. And so that doesn't leave a lot for operations and facilities. And we'll see when we come to the proposed budget and that we are bracing for a little bit of downturn because the state of Idaho is not increasing operational funds for schools. They cut us short on insurance. And so we'll see that is a good thing that we had a nice buffer before, because we'll see that it's going to go down just a little bit, which I expected. I expected that to do. I didn't think it was going to go up because there's no more revenue. That's the thing, is we have to just adjust. And so you look at the expenditures, I talked a little bit about that, but inflation and emergencies are things that really hit hard when it comes to budgeting. Since I've been superintendent, the inflation has gone up crazy high. One example is school buses. We could buy a school bus for 85,000 when I was first hired as a superintendent. Now school buses range from 160 to 175,000 for a nice yellow school bus. And that's not even a travel bus with the fancy seats and toilets. That's the yellow buses that will help get kids to school. So that's things that we're looking at. And then emergencies, that's usually like with facilities. If something like a boiler were to go down, our community has been wonderful in helping us with our plant facility and our supplemental levies. We are in great shape. We are in great shape as a district because of that. If that had not been here or available over the history, and I'm not going to talk about that today, but I do want to talk more next school board meeting, more in depth on levies and bonds and plant facilities and all things like that. So challenges that we have when it comes to budgeting is just projecting the revenues and the expenditures. I put the February 15th payment. As we're making this plan right now, we really don't know if we have it 100% right or if we're close until February. So that's why I have the magic 8 balls on there, as that with good luck with that. So I share that not to like deflect and say, hey, just give us grace on everything we say and believe us. No, it's just, this is the reality of what we do. Like, this is just what it is. And going back to with Mrs. DeGraw and I, we sit down and we go over so many different things to give us the very best magic 8 ball. It's better than a magic 8 ball. Like we've been pretty good at doing this, and we take on we listen to the different things that we've learned at the IASBO conferences, the things that we've learned from the State Department people, and we're putting that into play here at West Jefferson. And so as we go forward, this is going to be one of the things that kind of combines our current budget, the amended budget, and the proposed budget. And so before I get right into the amended budget, this is just a graph that shows what our current budget was when we began the year. We were thinking that our number was going to be 869. Now, again, that 869 number came last year in June. We don't have our final numbers for our budget until the end of September or October, when the audit is finished. When the audit comes in, that gives us our actual number. And so that was that 1.3 that came from the audit, correct, Carrie?
Correct.
So that's why you're like, somebody on the outside might be looking, holy cow, why is it so far off? A lot of things, until we get all the different moving pieces in, that's where that comes from. And so now we're going to go back to a proposed budget, and I'm going to bounce this over to this other side like this. So this was last year at June. This is this year in June right now, where we're looking at that number. Okay, so these numbers, again, it's not a bank account. This is not me looking at my checking account saying this is what I exactly have. This is budget numbers on where we're at. Does anybody have any questions or comments on that, or things that maybe some of you school board members that have been here for a couple of years on that. I hope I'm explaining it well enough.
The one thing is when I'm budgeting, I budget my revenues low and my expenditures high. Because the goal of my budget is to show you kind of worst case, like not worst case, but like if we had to spend every single one of these dollars and our revenues weren't as high as we were hoping, this is what it's gonna look like. And so my goal is always for that end unappropriated balance to be higher once everything's said and done. But I need the board to know that this could be where we end up if costs continue to be high.
So as and I think I want to stay on this page here, Carrie, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking I pull up the amended budget right now
Yes.
and kind of show where these numbers. So these numbers, the blue side is the M&O or maintenance and operations side. You have the revenues and then you have the expenditures. The green side is everything else. That's your federal programs, your facility funds, plant facility funds, and things like that. So there, you look at the overall health of the district of both of them play a specific purpose. But the M&O is the one that probably, I don't know, probably has had the more focus, at least since I've been superintendent. Like, what do you kind of understand, Carrie, on the
The
difference?
snow gets more focus because of how much we have to do with it. The green side or other funds are very, very specific. I have my Title I funds.
And it
I
has to be,
chose
Title
spend those
I.
funds this year on these kids. I have my special ed funds. Those are for special ed kids and this is how it has to be spent. And so there's not a whole lot of flexibility on the other fund side because they are all very specific. One of the funds is our Hamer City grant. And we spend about $2,000 each year from that grant. That was $50,000. So I'm carrying money over each year in that. That's the other thing is on the green side, I do have the ability to carry money forward in these funds. Where on my M&O, the money that's carried forward is all encompassing. And it's not divided by, okay, the high school, this is how much you're budgeted. If you don't spend it this year, you get to use it next year. This is what's budgeted. This is what you actually spent.
And that's one thing that we talk with our teachers and admin, I don't want them at the end of each year looking at that budget and going, "Oh, I better spend that or I lose it." That's not the mentality that we've gone with when I talk with my supervisors. What it is if we need it, we use it. If not, it stays in the big pot, and we will get you what you need when you need it. And so I think that's helpful because I do think there have been times probably in government agencies and things are like, we better go spend this or we're gonna lose this. But we're not approaching it that way at West Jefferson.
It's not actual dollars.
Because we're really frank with them that this is not your bank account. This is available. It's budgeted for you if you need it. And guess what? Next year, you're gonna get that same budget if it's there. And so that's been really helpful. So we don't have a lot of wasteful spending of, I better hurry and go buy, if I'm a maintenance department and I said, oh, I still have $1,000 left in this budget. I better go blow it on nuts and bolts or something. We're not doing that. And so I think that might be helpful for people to look at and say, oh, okay, good. With that. So let me pull up the amended. I don't need to pull up the proposed. It's just there.
The proposed on it.
It's just there for,
That is the document that we shared with the board last year. So it needed to be on there for you guys to be able to.
which would have been, oops, come on. Which would have been
The first column.
the first column. So this sheet here, again, it's 44 pages of budget. And the numbers that are in here. For example, if we go back to the, Carrie, I might, oh, you got a phone call?
Kirsten from Headwaters.
Okay,
Hello.
when we're looking at the local revenue and state revenue, like the 6.2, so we were thinking last year that we were gonna get 6.4, but we got 6.2. There's a lot of different reasons why that could have happened. It could have, and really right now, I kind of wanted to wait for Carrie to come in on this one. We're thinking, well, why is it a little bit lower? Part of it is we still might be waiting. Carrie, I was talking about revenue.
Yes,
On the current budget, we were estimating 6.4, but it's 6.2. Is that part of the reason why is because we had some teachers that were working on certification and we are
we
waiting,
do have some funds that are outstanding that have been withheld,
that still might, but we still can get
that
them.
still might correct it.
But until it's here, we don't want to
Right,
put it in there.
right, until it's corrected, and also, I mean, that's $200,000. And so it's that, and it's also our support units did come in a little bit lower this year than we had planned last year. But because of how Mr. Williams makes staffing decisions, we were still within our FTEs. We weren't over them.
So as you're looking at this, again, this is gonna kind of blend the proposed, the amended, and the current. You can see that state revenue is going down for us, or we're projecting it to go down over that. Is there
The
anything you,
majority of that is because of our declining enrollment.
and that's not just a West Jefferson issue, that's a nationwide. It's, there's two things to it. One is birth rate, families have fewer kids, and the second one is school choice. And you have those two elements that are hitting schools right now, and that is why our state revenue is going down. But if we look at this document, and I don't have anything specific, it's just that the overall of look at all the different numbers. You have, these are different revenue sources that we have that are in there. Again, so much to have to like Carrie mentioned, it's just a lot. And then you have the overall expenditures, and that's where we take it and we put it into this right here.
So will you go back to the budget?
Yep, and I'll let you talk on it. I don't have anything specific unless there's something on a certain page you want to talk about.
Budget has us, just if we look at the salaries, the very first line, our proposed budget has us just over $1 million. Our year to date is at 925, but I still have another month of payroll to make. And so that's why those two numbers aren't matching. Then it is, the amended has it higher than what I projected. Part of it's because I want to be cautious. And part of it could be, I thought this teacher was going to be placed here and they got placed here. The state's giving me those funds depending on where a teacher is placed or what education they have. And so that's why those salary amounts will fluctuate within that range. One, because I just want to make sure I'm under budget, and two, because of placement.
So when a school board member is looking at this, or even a community member, and they see all of these different salaries, and you say, okay, classified, sub teacher, and I'm just gonna keep going down. And then when you go to another section, oh, here's your salaries and certified for 7 through 12. Here's all the different things with that. And you go down and, oh, here's the high school, different things for the high school. And then we do have teacher names on here because we have supplies that go into their classrooms. Then you come in, you say, oh, here's our certified K through 6.
That's special ed.
Special ed. We have other spreadsheets that have the exact details of all of this. Again, this is a 30,000 foot document, but when we're preparing them, we have lots of different spreadsheets that put us down into the weeds. Is that a good way to say that, Carrie?
Yes.
for the board members to be, and this is not the document for us to get into the clarity of what is every single teacher making exactly. We have those in other places. Is there anything else on the either this sheet or the other one? I kind of want you to talk.
We are right about where I thought we would be for this year. We're about $300,000 lower than what our starting was. And I project that we're gonna be higher than this. But I have to make sure that the board's aware of where we could end up.
So you're thinking, so for the amended budget, this is gonna go back to when we go to vote on the amended budget. You're thinking that we're gonna end with 1.074.
Correct.
And that is going to be basically our carryover into the next year. Now, we're not gonna know that 100% until the audit, but that's just where we're at with the amended budget. Where last year in June at this time, our estimate was 716. So again, we're trying to make it as safe as possible.
And that amount adds up real fast.
Yeah.
If I put $20,000 extra in this fund and 30,000 extra in that fund. And it's 40 pages long, it's gonna
Yeah,
get,
it goes real
it adds
fast.
up real fast. It's like when I host a party, I wanna make sure I have enough food. When I build a budget, I wanna make sure that I'm not going over that budget. I wanna make sure that we're under what we're thinking.
Are there, as we were going through this, was there any that, when we find places that are over budget, we can, there's a couple things that we can do, or what we've done is sometimes we look into another part of the budget and say, hey, we didn't spend as much there, and we just move it over to make it all fit, because it will all balance at the end of the day. Was there anything that jumped out like really big to you?
No, I felt like our projections were really good. I feel like our schools are doing a really good job, and our staff of being fiscally responsible. Our communication on finances within the district, I think, is superb. It's real clear to everybody, this is what money we have, this is what can be spent, and then if there's something that's gonna be, if a teacher needs X for their classroom, it exceeds what their classroom budget is, they're communicating with their admin, they're communicating with their secretary and saying, well, this is what I need and this is why I need it. And that admin are able to find those funding sources. So we're being fiscally responsible, but we are providing what needs to be there for the education. And to me, that's where you want to be with a budget. It's not necessarily how big that end number is. I mean, you want it to be healthy, but are we able to provide that well-rounded education for our students? And I think we are.
So from the amended, our best estimate and everything is a 1.07 for the carryover. That's gonna take us into I'm kind of moving in now to the proposed fee hearing area, if that's okay, Madam
Yeah.
Chair. So that's the number that we take to start building the budget for the next year is 1.074. And then we look at, again, we're estimating local tax revenue. It changes. Local tax revenue, that consists of our supplemental levy. The plant facility would be over on the other side, and the reason why it's more, because we only get 300.
We get around 60,000 from supplemental levy, but we have taxes that get delayed. Like if people aren't paying their taxes, then that comes in a different fiscal year. That
Yeah.
also includes penalties and interest that gets paid to us as well.
Yeah.
Other local could be our Mud Lake telephone dividends, rentals.
Those are
Switch over to the budget and go to the first page.
Should I go to the
Yes,
proposed?
either one.
All right,
Just go up to the very first page. At the very top is where my locals are.
it says revenues.
So like taxes on tort, that is additional funds that come in through the taxes. Earning on investments, so that's interest earned through our LGIP, which is our state fund. That other local revenue is the dividends and some other grants and stuff that we've received. So just one note so that, especially so that Emily and Chris understand this. When a fund says in and out, it means that money needs to be distributed or received from one of the other schools or to one of the other schools.
So it's money that we're moving around inside.
But it's not within this budget.
Yeah,
It's, so if Mrs. Dixon gets a take of gas for the Suburban, she uses her high school credit card, but it's supposed to come out of district funds. Then I will write a check to Mrs. Mays to cover that cost so that the high school is not paying for something the district should be paying for. So those in and out funds are always gonna be fluctuating and moving, but that's why there's no budget for it. Because it's supposed to zero out at the end of the year.
let's see. So looking at the proposed budget, the big number that when you look at all the revenue, again, we're anticipating state revenue to go down mostly because of our ADA, and fewer students. And you can see that benefits, we're planning for more benefits. That's the other thing. The state did not reimburse West Jefferson at the same rate as they did other districts because we are not on the state plan. Some people think that, like a couple years ago, they offered the state insurance plan to districts, but it wasn't covered at 100%. And so the districts that went to the state plan had to pay a higher premium and also charge their employees a portion of that. In the research that we've done, if we went to the state plan for insurance, we would have had to have found another 200,000
When it initially happened.
and maybe
It
280
was
now.
200,000. If we were on the state plan right now, even if we were increased at the rate that those districts are being increased at, we would need another $300,000
Yeah,
this year alone
300,
to make
Which-
that.
which would come from our just flat out of
That's
this.
for us to cover it.
That's for
not
us to
our
be-
employees too.
That would,
The employees portion is set and it's
yeah.
$100 or something.
So we chose not to go to the state plan, but in years past, when the legislatures got together and they said, we are going to fund, this is what we're gonna give to districts for insurance, and they had a certain percentage. This year they gave those that were on the state plan, they gave them a 14% increase to help cover costs. And they gave everyone else, which West Jefferson and other districts similar to us, only a 10% increase
Meanwhile, our insurance increased.
by 16.5. And so that's another reason why, like, we're looking at expenditures to be a little bit higher. So just that's where we're at. I don't know. As Forrest Gump would say, I don't have anything else to say.
Give employee full benefits, it's $17,000 a year now. When I
It
started,
was
it
11,
was about 10 or 11.
10 or 11. So again, that's another example of the inflation, and then also the misrepresentation that people think that the state is funding districts. Like we're funded higher on salaries than we've ever been. Like that's true. That's a true statement. And even from the patron input from last board meeting, that's true because the state did pay, but they had it earmarked to say, take this money and you use it for salaries. And if you don't use it for salaries, you can't, you have to use it for salaries.
If you don't use it for salaries, then you actually have to send it back to them.
And so yeah,
But it's still not 100%.
but it's not 100% when it comes to the benefits. So at the very end of next year, like we're looking at 598 is what we're thinking. Now, when somebody first looks at it, you're going, oh no, why is it so low? Again, this is worst case scenario. We're anticipating that it will be a little bit higher than that. But I do think it's not going to be as high as 1.07 unless the state has some other type of thing coming in. And so the question comes to say, well, what are you doing, West Jefferson, to prepare yourself for this? I think that's the big question. What are you doing to prepare yourself for this? We have reduced staff already for next year. We're gonna have one fewer teacher this year than we did last year. That is preparing for this. Other things that we look at, we're already doing a lot of bare bones stuff at West Jefferson that's different than others, but we also invest differently in other programs that does cost us. And that's where the conversation of our supplemental levies come in at such an important part. And I'll wait till the superintendent wanted to talk about that. But just when we get there, this is what we have to look at and say, well, why is a supplemental levy so important for a district like West Jefferson?
Here's
So-
another thing is the state is giving us more money than they ever have before. When you look at it per support unit kind of stuff. Some of those funds though have moved from the blue side to the green side.
Yes, that's a good point.
We used to get about $100,000 for our maintenance custodial on the blue side, which covered the majority of my salaries. It's now moved over to the green side and I cannot use it for salaries. And so that now has to come
That's a really good
from a
point.
different source.
That's-
Yeah, the funding is there, the funding is good. And I 1000% appreciate our legislators for continuing to fund us. But when it moves from one side to another and the ability to use it on what you used it before changes. And so then we have to adjust.
So that what she's referring to, I think we used to call it the 292 money because that was the law. I've lost track of all the different laws, but that was the law for tax relief where taxpayers got a break. So if you look at your,
Different.
no, that was facility.
It was
It was
facility.
facility.
The tax one.
They're both, it was facility.
that We're getting
You
extra
are
money from
correct.
the state and it's actually just covering for the tax relief that our taxpayers get.
Yep. So because we received facility money from the state, they took that money and put it into their coffers to come here. So yeah, we did get it. It was a good benefit, but it changes the way that we can use the money. I think that's the point that,
And it's switching sides and stuff, and so
so when it comes to the overall budget, we feel like we recognize that we have to prepare ourselves for unless we can have more students come to the school. We do have plans in place to keep trimming if we go, and we trim even with our current supplemental levy, we're trimming even with it. If that were to go away, then we're amputating.
we have three positions.
So that's what's gonna happen.
3 positions this year classified that have left. They all had benefits. Those positions will no longer have benefits, or they're not even being replaced. Those are some of the things we're doing. We're reducing the number of benefits we offer. We're reducing the number of hours somebody works. Not current employees, but if we bring new employees on, we're not having it look the same. Shane and I have spent hours upon hours, okay. If this really is where we end up next year, we end up at 600,000 as our carryover. We've talked about the other positions we can eliminate for off of benefits. I said $17,000, that's a lot of money. so we have in place plans for if we have to make drastic changes.
But again, like we're seeing that's the extreme side.
Mhm.
On the other side, I'm gonna go back to how we started. I feel like we are in a really good spot considering this location, and we never used any of the COVID money to hire people, and so we weren't stuck with them. When the state went to the career ladder, we went to that immediately and paid teachers exactly. And so those are really good things that we've done. We're operating well, and we're going to continue to make sure that we're using all this taxpayer money to benefit the kids, to keep our facilities looking nice, maintain them the best we can, and give the kids the best opportunities as we can. And so that's what we're going to continue to do. So I don't know, any other questions? Because I don't think there's anything else on the budget that I have to explain
We
more.
will open the proposed budget and go down to maintenance. Like where we do the coal.
All right, what? Book, man, blind.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
Okay. So come across, can you highlight across, Mr. Williams? So that
Yeah.
it's easy to follow.
Yeah.
So we come across, we spent under, I think it was $68,000 this year for our coal. I'm still going to budget at 90,000. Cause we don't know what fuel prices are gonna continue to
For
do.
the winter.
That's the highest we've been on our coal costs,
90,
is the 90,000.
and that was that really, really bad winter.
Right, and so I put it, that's the other thing is we didn't burn as much coal this year. So I put us back up at the 90,000 as a buffer.
Mhm.
You go down to cars or fuel, if you just search fuel.
I also want to say that there will be no increases. So you can see the supervisor for maintenance. Even my like salary, so all administrators,
An exempt employee.
exempt employees, even teachers
If they're at the bottom of the career ladder.
don't get an increase this year. And so you'll see that's just the state did not give us any money, and so we didn't find ways to pay me extra. So we're all just gonna stay the same and just tighten our belts and do the best we can. So you want me to look for fuel? There you said,
Fuel. So bus fuel. We spent $44,000 this year on fuel, but I put us back up at 60,000.
see that? That's
Our hope is that by next January, February, when we have to buy again,
that we can buy it at 40.
at the 44.
Agreed.
But so there, right there is already $40,000 that I've increased our budget by from what I've amended it to.
That's just an example of how we do
That's
the
just an
budget.
example of how the budget looks. You know, cause at this point in time, I know how much we spend on coal, right? That's not changing, so I can amend that to a smaller amount. So that's why our proposed can appear to look worse than our amended, just because my amended, I have 11 of my 12 months.
Yeah.
A couple of questions on the expenditures here. When we were talking about areas that you've trimmed, specifically, purchase services. Can you talk about what that would cover? What things would fall into that? Cause I see that's
Purchase
been-
services would be our special ed, speech, OT, physical therapy. If we have to have a contractor or a professional come in and do work on the whatever. If Greg can't fix something on a bus and it has to go out to somebody else, that's a purchase service. You can go to the budget, Shane. Just. So like our utilities are considered a purchase service.
So all these different,
And they all start in the budget with purchase service hyphen something.
Okay,
So like our drug test for our bus drivers is a purchase service. I'm gonna keep scrolling.
yeah.
so have we trimmed that down
Or go up.
based on student numbers that we anticipate aren't gonna need those services? Or where have we been able to?
So
Some of the, I wonder if the question, and just to ask the question is,
why is it higher?
so why are we thinking it's gonna be lower? The amended one says 611, and we're thinking that's gonna be down to 434. There's a lot of different things that can play into that, and in the budget sheets, just to be honest, sometimes,
Some of those purchase services have moved over to the other side also.
yes,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So,
So instead of, we might have, this year we might have paid for them out of this side,
Right,
and next year we're going, we don't have the money on this side to pay for it.
that makes sense.
So we need to pay for it out of this side over here.
professional development. Revenue is going down. So I have less money for professional development. That's a purchase service.
And somebody might say, well, why do you have the big number right here? That's because of the facility money. That doesn't mean we're going to spend it. We have to account for it.
Right,
It has to be there.
Like all of
And
that
we
was considered a purchase. service.
And
Okay.
even after all of this other stuff's done, so
that's
that's,
making more sense,
that's-
that line.
you're going,
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
all
you're
straight over
struggling.
that
Drop.
for it.
Okay,
Yeah. So.
Great
our
question.
Remodels are purchase service.
right,
and this doesn't mean that we're going to spend that
Right.
next year. It's just, we have to account for it, and it's there.
and then recognizing there are a lot bigger numbers on this board, but capital outlay. Can you explain that one to me?
I think that's a good question.
Capital outlay is tied to our capital objects, so like our long-lasting investments. Mr. Williams bought these 3 tables when he came in. Those are a capital project. They've lasted more than 7 years.
Mhm.
So it's obviously we're gonna have more capital on the green side because that's where our plant facility is, that's where our facility funds are. And so those are the kinds of things that we're looking at there.
And other things that have happened as we're trying to compare previous years to this year. When the new funds come to us, they don't ever think about how you're supposed to fund them in the budget. And so the business managers are going, you just gave me all this money, where am I supposed to put it and how do I account for it? And some of these things, when you're looking from year to year, this might have been a previous year where they said, hey, take that money and fund it here.
Mhm.
And then it, once
They're
it,
like, oh, wait, no, we want you to put it over here in
Over
general fund, or we
here.
want you to.
so
Okay.
this sheet doesn't give you the like the overall clear down into the details.
Mhm.
Oh, and we were even discussing this over the last couple of days about, well, what is really other local and what is this and where should we, are we putting it all in the right spot? And so as we've rumbled over all of that, this is again our best
Right,
foot forward on where it's at. Is it perfect? I don't think any budgets are ever perfect, but the effort of putting it together, it gives us a solid foundation to like,
We are
okay,
doing our best to be true and faithful and to present as clear a picture as our abilities and skills allow us to.
well, I
it's good to-
appreciate the conservatism of budgeting. You know,
I-
expecting the worst and hoping. it
Well,
comes
and
in
one of
better.
the things we're hoping for is if we do get enough kids into an online school, our state revenue does go back up.
Mhm.
I have not accounted for any of those potential students.
That's so unknown at this point.
Right. You know, but there are also funds. I texted Mrs. Scott yesterday. I said, hey, do we have a projection for how much added cost funds we're gonna get for CTE? She said, nope, we don't get that till October. So there are funds that I have no idea
Mhm.
how
yeah,
much we're gonna get. You know, the property tax relief, those funds, I don't find out until beginning of August how much I'm getting.
but we have to make the budget now.
Right,
So those are all the things. If we had that, instead of the magic 8 ball, the magic wand to say when would be the right time to do this, we would have a better it wouldn't be perfect, even if we push this process back a month into July. At least to allow us to,
Closer.
but it'd be a lot closer,
Mhm.
because then we could at least finish off the fiscal year with it. So,
Does the carryover of almost 600,000, has it ever been that low?
Yeah.
Like back in 08, I would imagine.
Yeah.
It was.
so
Actually,
we have a sheet that I could get to the board. We'll get it ready for, like, we'll get it updated, but
yeah,
I have it from 07 on.
Okay.
I know I did some research.
we have something that. takes us
Look,
back
that
to
takes us back into the 90s, because that's when, there was a,
Before the funding formula switch.
what, not funding formula, the tax
The
levy
levy.
mechanism.
County taxes, that stuff.
Did I say that in this meeting, or was that before this meeting started? I can't remember.
That was last night.
I can't remember, but like, in regards to like our plant facility and supplemental levy, prior to 2007, school districts received an automatic levy from the state. There was
From the county.
it was this, the county did it, but it was generated through the state. There was a statewide 3% property tax levy that automatically went to public schools. And that was something that happened. And so West Jefferson was receiving the equivalent of what we're already getting prior to 07. And then in 07, when Governor Kempthorne took a position with the Bush administration, and Lieutenant Governor Jim Risch at that time became governor for the month or two, they called a special session in August where they went and they changed that funding mechanism in 1 or 2 days. And the promise to schools was, you'll get an extra penny on sales tax, and things are so great in Idaho, you guys are just gonna have all the money you need for schools. The very next year, schools had $50 million less available to them. The following year was the Great Recession, and so it was just a cliff that came down. And if you look at West Jefferson, so your question is, can we go back and see what years that was? There were years between 09, 10, 11, and 12 that the carryover at West Jefferson was 200,000. And that was the actual. And then in 2012, there was the supplemental levy, and then the state started picking up again in 2015 and funding more, and so it took off. And so that's really an important thing to look at, to say, where would we be at with or without the supplemental levy?
Because, Carrie, you'll have to give me the number, but our auditor recommends that we have a
3
carryover.
months.
Right.
Which would be between 600,000 and 800,000. I think there are districts that sometimes start the year in the red, which just basically means they have to dig out of the pit.
Right.
Going the next year. That's not great. It's not very many of them. There's a handful that were there.
There was 1 year, it was right during COVID, where we were told we were gonna have a 5% holdback for this year and a 5% holdback for the
Mhm.
next year. And that was the information Patty had in May and June, when she made her budget. And her budget ended us at $5,000.
5,000.
Yeah. And so that's really, really scary as a business manager, to come to the board and present, this is your worst case, like,
Yep, and that
this is
was
really scary.
my first. That was my
That
first
was your
budget.
first budget.
That was my first budget. Because I just inherited it. Like, my first year was the one that was just inherited, because I
So,
wasn't even involved in that.
so those are the kinds of things that we look at, and
But that was also the time when that budget was out, that we did go into, like, as superintendent, I asked the board to go into a RIF. We went into a RIF. We eliminated 3 positions. And that helped correct that
Where
trajectory.
we need to be.
And so I know that we're going, like I said, we're gonna use the funds to our best abilities to help make sure that we're not wasting taxpayer money, that we are allowing it to, like, go towards the function of the organization. But I also know that if things do get hard, I know that Carrie and I, and hopefully with the board's support, will be able to make the hard decisions going forward if we have to. But I don't know if we don't have to yet. That's the
I think
thing,
one thing
we don't have to
to
yet.
remember is we are in the business of spending. We're supposed to spend money.
Agreed.
Our business is not how high can we make our profit margin this year? Which is totally opposite from any other business that you run. It's okay, how much money can I spend to get what we
To
need?
get the best
To the
benefit.
best
Mhm.
benefit without driving us into the ground.
Nedra was always so good at this, you guys. I'm just trying to think, what would she ask?
She would say, she wouldn't ask anything. She would say, well done, Shane and Carrie, and
I hope she's listening.
I hope so too. Oh, okay. That's all we have on the budget hearing. Should I move into the fee hearing stuff?
Yes, let's
Real
do it.
quick, okay. So we only had one department that is asking for increases that are beyond the 5%. So again, this is not a voting part. This is still people in the audience can ask questions. But it's for our child nutrition program. And it is to increase the elementary lunch from 325 to 350, secondary lunch from 350 to 375. I put the adult lunch on, even though it's only 3.92. This one is determined by federal guidelines. And so that's out of our hands. So it's really just student stuff that we're talking about with those two. I support this. One of the things with Lisa's program, we're in the school board meeting, I should call her Mrs. Ward, but her program is in the black. You go to a lot of other school districts, their child nutrition programs are in the red every single year, and school districts must go into their maintenance and operation to help bail them out. So if she feels like this is what we need, she did a lot of research on it. She took the area meal prices, and you can see these are just all the different schools that were able to get back to her. She reached out to a lot of them. Some of them didn't get back to her. These were their proposals that they were going into. Some of them were still waiting on their board's approval from their fee hearings. But the averages for elementary was 354. She's asking for 350. The average for high school, and we don't differentiate between junior high and high school, it's just all secondary, was 374. She's asking for 375. I thought she did a really good job with her research on that. And so this would be something that when we do get into our regular meeting, the board will be presented with the option to either approve this increase or deny this increase.
I don't know if you do the grocery shopping at your house, but I feel like costs have just gone through the roof. And if
Yeah.
someone can eat lunch for $3.50, okay.
Yeah, they do a great job there. And
Well, and she continues every year to get the fresh fruits and vegetables grant, which allows her to bring in that really good fresh stuff that our kids get to eat. And
yeah, her ability to obtain grants, to apply for the different programs. As I was visiting with some board members prior to this, I made the comment that the child nutrition program is probably more regulated with red tape than any other program in our district. More than special ed even, and more than in Title I. Just the different requirements, and I think Mrs. Ward does a great job with navigating that landscape. And
it is still a self-sufficient program. And she has gotten herself involved in committees and organizations where she's going to legislators
and
at the
advocating.
federal level.
Yep.
And advocating to allow us to use healthier food.
And they all tell her they're gonna do it,
I
and
know.
they're gonna say, we're gonna cut the red tape. Vote for me. And then
Biggest wish
nothing
Biggest
changes.
wish is that lunch programs can buy food from their local farmers,
Mhm.
you know? We can buy meat from our local farmers, we can buy potatoes from our local farmers. But there's so much red tape that it's really hard to be able to do that, but she figures out ways to stay within the laws and still provide those kinds of things for our students.
And successfully passed all of her audits this year.
Yep.
So she was great. So that's all I have information on the fee hearing. I guess you guys can wait to discuss later if you don't have any questions now, we could move into the next portion of our meeting.
Okay,
So
looks like we need to go into,
executive session if we could.
sure I read that right.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll
So take a
go
recess
ahead and
here,
use the board.
probably closer to 11. 11:30, I'll text you. Oh, I was talking about, oh, no, we're not off yet. I was
Oh,
talking to
no.
Mr.
He was
Oh,
letting
okay.
Mr. Miller know.
Mr. Miller was gonna
Okay.
come in and give us an update. I'm like, we're still about another hour out before that, so
Okay, sorry. Well, the board will go ahead and take a recess. And,
let's move to
Let's
executive.
move to executive session,
okay,
take a recess.
we need a motion.
Yeah,
Okay, so it'll be open for that motion then.
Madam Chair, I move that we move to executive session for Idaho Code 74-206, 1A and B.
Is there a second? We'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Tuttle,
Aye.
Mrs. Rigby,
Aye.
Mr. Burtonshaw,
Aye.
Mrs. Belknap.
Aye.
Aye.
We will end this meeting on YouTube and start a new.